Good morning everybody and welcome back to another video here on the channel where today we're on the floor with a mock that I am too terrified to move. And this mock was originally part of my plan to make a fairground this summer using all the Creative Expert fairground sets. And as I haven't been able to get hold of the Space Carousel set, I was like, well, I've got the roller coaster track from the Big Urchin Beach Ride, so let's just make my own substitute to go in my theme park. And what we're going to discover today is that I've made a mistake. So let's give this thing a start up and see the motion, and then I'll take you up close, talk through the concept and the design, and then tell you why I'm tearing this apart straight after I film this. So that is the motion I have, and let's just say it's a double motion system. It's by no means the motion that I wanted. So if we stop that, you can see there's actually two motions going on. On the left, there's a train bogie that's powering a gear system, and as that gear system turns, it turns the whole rig around in a slightly larger circle, like so. This is done by the motor being off-center, and it just sort of spins around. It's a bit clunky, and that's because there's so much weight on the cog, but we'll take a look at that in a minute. And then the other motor spins an axle, and it spins it on a fixed axle. And this is not the motion I wanted. I wanted a fairground ride that, if it stopped spinning, had its wheels spinning, so it looked like the fish were actually moving around the disc. And as they were moving around the disc, they were also spinning, so it looks like they were going up and down or left and right or something. And that was the general gist of what we were going for. However, that is not what's happened, and that is part of the reason why it will be coming down. But for now, let's come off our tripod and we'll go over there and show you a couple of details up close, as well as the design principles that I've used and everything that this model involves. So now that we're up nice and close, you can actually see a little bit clearer what's going on here. And obviously let's start with the main star of the attraction. We've got our 4 of the track pieces from Big Urchin Beach Ride, and they are attached nicely to a Technic frame. If I just change the angle here, all into the center. This is technically my own design. I didn't use anyone else's design, and that comes down to this big lump of junk, but we'll deal with that later. We're here for the aesthetics. On the ring, we have 3 tropical fish. We went through many designs where I had anglerfish, and actually this is the original here. You may recognize this one. This fish here is a modified version of the tropical parrot polybag from 2022. This is one of the alternate builds. And after going through many different sea creature designs for the little ride carriages, which you can see the person sat in there, I saw this of the alternate builds for this model, the tropical parrot, and was like, that's perfect. It's a cutesy fish with a nice eye. And then I went along to my Mixel collection and built 2 more. So here is a Series 4 one. This is actually one of the Orbitrons, is largely where this fish came from. And I love the use of this Mixel eye. This one was from Nerpnart. And he just looks so fed up with life. It really creates this really cutesy fish thing. So you've got this big adorable one here. You've got Nerpnart here. And then from Series 5, Elixir's one with the smaller eyes. This is like a tropical one. We've got the blue and mostly yellow. And this one's a standing one. This one's a standing one. And then this one's a sitting one. So we've got lots of different options for different people. And obviously in the middle, we have a giant octopus, 4-legged octopus squid thing. And this may look also very familiar to you guys. This is, of course, a heavily modified version of the Series 2 Mixel Tentro. Well, not that modified, really. Using his base design, changed out a couple of the pieces for stuff that appears on Kral. And his legs are longer, thanks to Balk. These are all Mixel names. Yes, I know them all. And that is sort of like in the center of the ride, adds a bit of color. If I'd actually finished the model, I would have decorated these with some blue tiles to make them look a little bit better. And actually you board the ride from this collapsed staircase here. You can see that this would have come all the way up, and I have the middle segment over here, and that would have created this lovely tan staircase that went all the way up to where you would board the ride. If we have one of the fish down here, trust me, it would have reached. And while you're boarding, you've got this cute little shark here. And then this rock wall, which is supposed to hide the motors, but it doesn't do a particularly good job of it. But anyway, this is the beach area. So for context, in my theme park, I've got all the Creator Expert rides, and I have a kiddie area as well, was the plan. And this kiddie area was largely inspired by the banana boat swing ride in the children's amusement park from earlier this year, the gift with purchase. And by including that, I was like, hey, let's make the children's area an animal area. So I started planning all of these little tiny attractions for small children. And then that led to this undersea area to replace what would have been a space area using the space carousel that I can't get my hands on until the Titanic comes back in stock. That was where this ride came from, was just supposed to be an exact replica of that, but on an angle. And then as we looked at it, we realized we wanted more and more motion than just, well, a spinning disc. So plans changed, things changed, and we resulted in this mess. Now, as for the reasons why I want to get rid of it is, one, I'm not happy with like the actual motion like sequence that I have. I wanted a completely different motion. And then secondly, because this is terrifying. It spins way too much. I really don't like the way the cogs have come out. I couldn't get a good entrance, and actually it feels very, very cramped. If you imagine, this is under the water, so in order to make this realistic, you'd have to have a wall here going up to like a raised animal section that would have been all around it. So it would have been a dip in the corner, and while the ride still would have been visible, it would have made this area very cramped. This area is already very cramped and underutilized. We've got one photo op down here. Nice bit of foliage on there, courtesy of Big Urchin Beach Ride, where you've got a diver taking a photo of you next to the Atlantean, and you've got a little chest and a photo op thing and a shark. But more importantly, you forget that there would have been this here, this giant submarine, which I'll talk to you about in a second, and you would have slid down through it, because as I said, this is the children's area, so it would be access through a slide. You would have slid through down this side into this world, and you can imagine that this would have been like here. There would have been a water level up to like here on this side, and then like Monkeyland or wherever the animal kingdom was going to be all around here. So it would have been a very, very small space. We're talking about 24 studs, which is by no means a bad thing. But with the scale of everything else and also the lack of quality in this ride, particularly in the fish, comparing to Creator Expert rides, this thing just doesn't quite fit in with the overall aesthetics. So what we're going to do is you guys will see the Summer theme park on this channel when it's finished, and its size is going to be incredibly cut down from my original vision. I'm still going to keep the haunted house and the spooky area and some of the kiddie park ideas, but it is going to be very much shrunk, because this is just not the time for doing big projects like this, because this took a day and I have nothing really to show for it because it is not good. It's also cannibalized what Big Urchin Beach Ride, the Jeep Defender set from Technic, not Luigi's Mansion, the Luigi Starter Course, 3 different series of Mixels, a polybag, my Atlantis sets, and more, because this thing was not finished and there would have been more. Oh, plus all my moats and stuff I had to go fish out. So it's made a really, really big mess for very little gain. So it's not a project now. We will be finishing it. We will come back to it and make it look good. However, for now, I'm going to be taking it apart. So let's take a quick look at this, and then I'll show you the actual mechanism and how it works. So this is built entirely out of pieces of the Atlantis Build Your Own Adventure set from 2010. It was a book, and the castle one, because I think I put them in their bag together. And the idea is, as I said, that you'd slide in from Kiddieland into this area of Kiddieland, down this like black slope, so it's supposed to be like a children's entrance. There'd be some stairs elsewhere for adults. And you've got these nice propellers just to make it look good, and obviously you could go take photos in the dome, you know how like people do in aquariums, you can see in there. But I was quite pleased. It looks like a sort of submarine, I guess. One thing that I had in my head, like if we're talking canon-wise, if I can do this on camera, is what was this ship in my head when I was designing it? And actually, in my head, this was the ship I had, like some sort of submarine drop ship where you could pick up cargo in the middle or hold different things that could be dropped off. That was what the craft I was going for in my head. You had like a feel to it. And there was a big empty space, but that was deliberate. You had your pilot in here. Oh, this is all flicked around. And then you had like your cargo controller or your little air bubble for passengers up the top, obviously not accessible. And then it had just been modified for theme park purposes, because that's exactly what happens in theme parks. But yeah, no, that was my little Atlantis build. Probably one of my favorite parts of this, other than discovering that tropical fish alternate build, which was pretty cool. I've got my little shark down here as well. Right, let's spin this around and show you the mechanism before, of course, you know how we've got to end this video is just cranking it up to full speed and watching it destroy itself, because that will make for good entertainment. Okay, so it's sort of hard to explain. So you can see here, this is the rod that rotates the thing, right? So this is just the basic rotation, and it goes into a big M motor, and all of this technical stuff is just securing it. And I've secured it to the battery box and the IR. Now you may be going, why is this so wobbly? Because it's on a giant gear, and that was necessary so that I could get the spinning. However, I don't think that's necessary for the motion I want. I'm really not sure. Technic kind of be confusing sometimes. Anyway, I'm using the gears from Luigi's mansion. I keep wanting to call it the mansion. It's just the starter course, and they're really, really effective. They're really, really clean, and they're really, really good gear pieces. So I would highly recommend them using them. And all we really wanted was for this wheel to spin and then for the whole wheel to rotate. So I don't know why I bothered doing this. But anyway, this is actually connected to a train bogie because I don't have that many motors. So I wanted to save on motors as I block your vision and destroy everything. And this train bogie is just connected to a different IR sensor, because obviously I can't put it on the same IR sensor as the one in here, because it would get the wires all tangled and spun up and things, and that would not be what we wanted. So let's just fix this gear ever so quickly. And then we're going to turn this thing on and ramp up the speed. Right, we are ready to go. This is Maximum Spin Test Volume 1. Thank you for watching, everybody. I'll see you in the next video. Look out for that theme park soon, and maybe consider subscribing.